everybody, and welcome back once again to Suzerain. Yes, the Kingdom of Rizia DLC. I'm up, not quite so bright and early on a Saturday morning. I woke up at 10:30. I was supposed to get up at 9, but I didn't put an alarm on. I was intending to wake up at 9, hoping that my body clock would say it's time to get up, but no, it didn't say it. It didn't say that until 10:30, but anyway. Regardless, I've just had my breakfast. And I thought to myself, I'm in the mood for a session of Suzerain. Yes, we ended the last one with my daughter being twirled around the dance floor by none other than Mr. Sazon, in a royal slap in the face to us, of course, who thought we had the upper hand when we had a conversation with the man and left him, kind of skulking off. And yeah, that happened. We'll see how that develops. But anyway, let's see what today's session brings. So, yeah, really looking forward to seeing what happens next. Don't forget we also funded the Golden Guard to increase the numbers. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But before we dive into the day's bread and butter, which basically is meeting and greeting people, and today we're meeting Rusty, of course, the owner of the Royal Rizian Gold. Well, I don't know, but our aim is to increase our stake from what it currently is. We'll see if we can achieve that. I highly doubt it, but you never know, do you? Stranger things have been known. So, yes, but before we crack on, we've got some news articles here. Sazon Heir gives speech about trust, but can he be trusted? In a recent display of audacity, Rizian People's Party leader and House Sazon heir Manus Sazon chose to grandstand about trust at the Scarlet Kingbird Festival, the largest annual event in Breenus. The choice of topic seemed steeped in irony, given his well-documented scepticism towards the monarchy that forms the bedrock of our kingdom. Yeah, Royal Herald, well done. Keep writing this with this slant. In front of an audience that included His Majesty King Romus and Her Highness Princess Vina, he gave an emotional speech that left many Sazon supporters teary-eyed, but that left us at the Herald wondering about his true motivations. One couldn't help but wonder if the decision to grant the opening speech to young Manus instead of the Mayor of Salabez was an attempt by House Sazon to capitalise on a royal event for political gain. Yeah, he'll have you think butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. He's probably just as much as a game player as the rest of the political types. I'd say we've got his number, but considering he went off with my daughter on the dance floor, I think he won that. I think he won the first round, didn't he? We'll have to up our game. Rufus Gragg's royal gossip. Vina dance off. Yeah, of course there was press there, wasn't there? Dancers at last. Yes, well, now we know what it takes to get Her Highness off her seat and onto the ballroom floor. A request from the dashing and dangerous young heir to House Sazon. VIP visitors to this year's Scarlet Kingbird Festival were treated to the sight of Princess Vina and Duke Manus making Google eyes at each other while cutting a rug. Just a polite dance or something more? And what, oh what, will her father say? I'll say a lot of things behind closed doors, but hey, I'm sure we've been press-trained. Press-trained, yeah, right. President Walker boosts welfare, faces economic challenge. Swelling Arcasia's welfare spending through deficit financing. Could it be a double-edged sword? I'm sure they'll be fine. Superpower, they'll find money from somewhere. Blah-de-blah. Couldn't care less about Arcasia. Right, okay. Republic of Morella, what have they got to say? Oh, they condemn our border policy. Of course they would. Officially condemns our country's refusal to let in the Golcondas pilgrims that amassed at the border. Heartless decision. Oh, you have to deal with the fallout, do you? Oh, well, bully for you. Did they destroy your, Ark Sanctuaries? Leave them in ruin with their violent actions? They did here, and we're not having it, I'm afraid to have to say. Well, I'm not afraid to have to say it, I'm happy to say it. No to Golcondas. Let's plaster it on the border. Give him the picture. Right, what's next? We're kind to certain people, and we're not so kind to others. Look, you do wrong to me, you do wrong to my country, you do wrong to my Ruhasist people. You face my wrath. Slight me once, you will never slight me again. To pay heed, Manus Sazon. I'll have you bumped off. Golden Guard, I have a mission for you. It involves murder. Assassination. Dance with my daughter, will you? Dance when you've got no legs. Right, meeting with Rusty Montoro at the Palace Venus. On the banks of the Zapana River in Bronaz stood Palace Virana. It's a different palace, actually. Almost as opulent as my own palace. Almost. It had once served as a summer residence for my ancestors, the Rubaz family. Today it was the home of Rusello Rusty Montoro, the CEO of Rizian Royal Gold and the wealthiest commoner in the country. He has his own palace, does he? I stepped out onto the deck of the Rizian as the yacht approached the palace's private dock. Hugo and Alina were already there, gazing out at the grounds. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Palace Virana, without its water garden, is no palace at all. I think it's an improvement myself, but what do you make of this, Your Majesty? We're probably not impressed, to be quite honest with you. I looked in the direction she was indicating. The water garden, once a tranquil oasis filled with blossoming flowers and gently burbling fountains, had been replaced with a gigantic, gold-tiled swimming pool. Gaudy. Extremely gaudy. We're a man of tradition and history. That water garden was a lovely feature. Why would you replace it with this eyesore? Hideous. I mean, we're not adverse to money, but we do think it's hideous. So instead we'll say, remind me how a man like him took over the most powerful corporation in Rizia. He's got a knack for being in the right place at the right time. Legend has it he worked his way up from regional mine supervisor via a series of backroom deals and boardroom betrayals. Suddenly a group of armed men exited the palace in single file. They positioned themselves at equal intervals around the dock. They followed us with their eyes as we disembarked and walked towards the palace veranda. As I passed the largest guard, I noticed he was wearing a badge that read Palantor Security Solutions. Palantor? Tempted. Are you Arcasian? He stared at me with a look of non-comprehension. Rusty rose from where he'd been sitting and rushed over to us. Antoine! That's no way to treat our royal visitors! The guard reluctantly bowed to me. Rusty ushered us past him and showed us to a set of chairs. The gold magnate's red hair was streaked with grey, but his eyes had a useful mischief about them. On behalf of us all at the esteemed Rizian Royal Gold Corporation, I do hereby extend my cordial greetings. He trailed off with a grin. Heck, I was never one for formalities. Welcome to my palace, Your Majesty. You certainly have made it yours, haven't you? We can't resist. I can't. King now? He's not. I mean, obviously, we got to be aware that we need to be. What's the word I'm trying to look for? We need to be cordial here. We want increased stakes. So insulting the man is probably not the way to go about it. But it's just, we've got to get at least one backhanded jibe in there, and it's kind of, we're thinking it's quite subtle jibe here. You have made it yours, haven't you? The garish gold pool here. Oh, the pool! I can't stand swimming myself. Get sunburned at the drop of a hat. The grandkids love it, though. He turned to Hugo and Alina. Your Grace, Madame Treasurer, haven't had a sit-down with you two since the last man wore the crown. My uncle gritted his teeth. You must mean my honourable brother, His Majesty King Valero. May he rest in peace. Now, Hugo, Rusty paid his respects at the funeral like everyone else. She shook Rusty's hand. He beckoned for us to sit as his butlers brought over water and fresh fruit. Maybe we should leave it in the hands of Elena. I think me and Hugo are both getting off on the wrong foot with this man. So, I mean, how's business? We do have invested interest in how well the business does. So we do have a natural interest, actually. We'll get to that, Your Majesty. Settle down. Have a drink first. A shame Her Highness couldn't make it. Too occupied with her latest beau. One dance does not a beau make. Will thank you not to speculate about Princess Vena's romantic prospects. Yes, agreed. We're keeping the topic of my daughter's love life within the family. No offence, Mr. Montoro. Oh, well, all right. I'll cut to the chase then. He sat back and unbuttoned the top button of his shirt. Oh, good grief. You know, there would be no Rizia without Rizian royal gold. Yes? Don't overinflate your importance. Yeah, I'd say the partnership between your company and the monarchy has benefited both of us equally. Well, not equally, actually. That's a lie. That's not. He's got more of a stake. Well, yes, the RRG. This makes it sound like that we rely on him more than we need to do. Actually, we do need to rely on him, to be fair, but... Which one? No, we'll go with this one. I'd say that the partnership between your company and the monarchy has benefited both of us equally. Wouldn't you say? Well, it's not equal, is it? We'll go with this one, actually. I've changed my mind. Yes. The RRG has contributed greatly to Rizia's wealth, yes. It did so before your acquisition also, actually. I'm sure my history book seems to recall. And continues to do so even as we speak. My point being, it's fair to say that what concerns me concerns this country. And right now, what concerns me is this. He picked up a piece of paper from the table next to him. It was a flyer with a few sentences written in both Rizian and Wezek. Supervisors at my mines are picking up hints that the workers are holding after-hours meetings on the subject of unsafe conditions. I see. We have been aware that obviously certain employees across the country, which is a foreign variety, have not been treated quite so well, and it wasn't really top of our agenda to improve their working conditions because it cost money. Have you tried, I don't know, improving those conditions? Meeting workers' demands is like feeding zoo animals. The more you give them, the hungrier they get. Have there been any accidents lately? Anything that might have triggered this? Rusty snorted. Accidents have been part of this job since the dawn of time. Used to say you weren't a real miner until you were missing a finger. What do you need all... Did you ever work in the mines yourself, Rusty? Not extensively, but I've swung a pickaxe or two in my day. Hugo cleared his throat. Do you have a request of His Majesty, Mr. Montoro, or have you merely invited us here to complain? I've never seen Hugo so snappy. Not complain. Warn. I'm not going to change a thing about the way my mines operate, so sooner or later this is going to land in your lap. RRG's value has been going down since we lost Zeal. New safety regulations might sound fine and dandy, but they'd be a death blow to our bottom line. See, we have that, but we're involved in that. That's where we get our direct profits from. But he hasn't. I don't think he has a stake in this, does he? Although we do use his equipment. I seem to recall that's how it worked. In fact, when I read the codex entry, anyway. And most of your minor labour hands from foreign countries. Will the regulations even apply to them? They're fixing to have it that way, yes. The folks pushing for these restrictions, I mean regulations, are a mix of labour hands and honest to goodness Rizians, with some support from the Sazons to boot. I see what they're going for, I really do, but giving them everything they want would damn near bankrupt me. A little extreme, don't you think? I agree we shouldn't impose more regulations than necessary, but investing in safer and healthier employees could lead to profit in the long term, foreigners included. How much revenue would we stand to lose? Hard to say. Implementing the regulations themselves would cost a pretty penny. And what do you think will happen if we pass those costs on to our trading partners? They'll hit the road faster than my first ex-wife. Alina raised her eyebrows. We have been seeing more global competition on the gold market, unfortunately, but for now our product is of high enough quality that Rumberg is willing to pay more for it. Yes, but if the price rises further still? I'd rather not admit it, but Mr. Montoro may have a point. No, Hugo, you just don't like foreigners. Right, but we still have the Meftian International Trade Zone, don't we? Well, that's the other thing. I'm sure you know all about Alma Sultana. Oh yes, the Prime Minister of Mirella, no less. She's not a threat. It's probably a bit naive. She could well be a dangerous figure. A Millennialist left-leaning dangerous figure, no less. Certainly not a pioneer. Right, Your Majesty. Banning propaganda in Rizia won't stop what's happening on her side of the border. Woman's never picked up a chisel in her life, and she suddenly knows how to run the mitts. She started calling for regulation over there as well. Or worse, nationalisation. Mirella doesn't have unilateral power over the international trade zone. Rizia, Lespia, and Vangsland all have a say. And guess which one of those Miss Sultana has been cozying up to on this subject? Yeah, Vangsland. Obviously. If she and Hegel get their way, Rizia will either lose its mining rights, or our boys will have to pray to Mileniev before going to work every morning. Yeah. That still leaves us and Lespia. It's hard to say if we can count on Lespia's cooperation. Of course, they'll abhor Valsland, but we don't have the friendliest history with them either. We'll have to keep a close eye on this. But don't worry, Rusty, old chap, your company will rebound when we get Zeal back. So we say it with an air of confidence. I sure hope that's in the cards, Your Majesty. That little nub of land is home to some of the fattest gold veins my company's ever found. No way Valen could mine it all in 25 years. You're saying the RRG's mining operations in the region could pick up where they left off? Yes, ma'am. Assuming we get it back without making too much of a mess. Rusty took a big bite out of a watermelon slice. He wiped the juice off his chin. Look, you know me. I don't mince words. I think you already realise that it's in both of our interests for you to back me up in this squabble. But hey, I'll sweeten the deal. Keep your administration's nose out of RRG's business, and I'll sell you back the share I took from your father. Workers' rights? Who needs them? Who needs them? That's what I'm after, in an increased share, and he's offering it on a silver platter to me. Oh, we'll have to take it, won't we? There's no way that this playthrough is not ending in civil unrest. It's just not possible. Elena pushed her chair back and stood up. I'm going to recuse myself from this conversation. Where is the ladies' room? Just inside. If you never sat on a solid gold toilet, you're in for a treat. She forced a smile as her butler escorted her, as a butler escorted her out. Hugo, Rusty, and I glanced at each other. Any opinion? Oh, we don't need to ask Hugo's opinion. He'll be 100% behind it. Of course he will. Let's just prove a point. Hugo? Thoughts? I have my own opinions, obviously. Just interested in what you think. As the Grand Vizier. What you're proposing is incredibly crass, Rusty. This is why Elena's excused herself. I don't think Elena's happy with this deal, actually. She's a flipping woman of money. She's not happy with it. Obviously, she's a woman of moral standing. I was mortified to find out early this week. This is my Pathfinder mug. My mother broke my Deus Ex Mankind Divided mug. Broke the handle off it. I say fuming is probably a bit over the top, but I was horrified. I was like, it was just sat there on the side, on the kitchen fitment, minus a handle. The handle sat next to the cup. I was like, have you put it there as a statement or just for? I don't. Oh, mortified. It's one of my favourite mugs, that one as well, because it was in black, and you know how I like black. Anyway, so back to the game. Hugo thinks this is crass. I sense a but coming. He looked at me. But increasing the state share in RRG would serve us well. Besides which, giving in to the workers' demands might embolden them to a dangerous degree. You're a smart man, Your Grace. You and I should go out for beers someday. Hugo looked like he swallowed something unpleasant. Yes, beers. I would enjoy that, yes. Why I shouldn't have you beheaded? This is a bit over the top. I would. We're going to accept this deal. Oh, this is terrible. This playthrough is ending in a ball of fire. But hey, we wanted an increased stake, and all we're sacrificing is workers' rights. I mean, come on. I mean, is the end of the world here? We're not some kind of person that's. Oh, we'll help the people in other ways. I don't know which of the ways at the moment, because we're not doing anything for the people right now, but hey, we'll lay the foundations to increase our profit share. Once we have a nice healthy profit, then we can start investing in the people, okay? We've just got to kind of front load the pain for long-term gain, okay? Precisely what we're doing. Right. I don't know what I'm not selling any stake, so that's not on the cards. Right, it's going to have to be this one. It's a bit OTT, as I said. We're not kind of trying to be in cahoots with this man, but we do want that share. So here we go. I sure hope so, Your Majesty. I won't keep wasting your time. Do we have a deal, or don't we? Oh, it's a bribe. Oh, it's classed as a bribe, is this? Oh, heavens help us. Oh no! This is really underhanded, isn't it? Bribe is a bit strong, I think. It's a bit strong, isn't it? Surely, bribe? It's a gentleman's agreement. See, we've got other forms to get money, but we did set out at the start of the campaign, and we did say that we have to increase our share in this company. There may be other means to increase the share, but this is a very simple way to do it, and clearly we're not overly interested in workers' rights right now, which is really, really shocking as the king, when already there's all this kind of situation where people don't like the monarchy. It's so bad. So bad. We're not stupid either. We must understand the consequences of doing this. We must understand the consequences. If it ever got out, of course. But when we don't sign, the bills that are about, or the royal decrees that are about to come across our desk, mentioning improved rights, people are going to be like, "What's that? Why not?" We can smooth it over by simply saying, "Look, we've got other decrees that take precedence. We'll get to your rights eventually." Let's click it before I change my mind. Oh no. Right, Rusty smiled. Perfect. This could be the beginning of something beautiful. And then he stepped back into the room. Oh, that was colder than I expected. Are you gentlemen finished? Hugo practically sprang from his seat. It's been a delight, truly, but we must be headed back to Port Drayson. And here I was about to ask you to stay for lunch. So soon, Your Majesty? I don't think we need any more pleasantries, do we? We're done. We've achieved what we set out to do here. Good day to you, Rusty. That we have. Enjoy the trip back. Goodbye, Mr. Montoro. I could see him cheerfully waving from the veranda as Hugo, Elena and I stepped back on board the yacht. Oh boy, what have we done? Oh God. Right, here we go. Geopolitical news. Erdmarg signals joining non-aligned movement. The Kingdom of Erdmarg announces a decisive pivot towards the non-aligned movement, marking a strategic diversification from its historical alignments. 10-year Industrial Development Initiative. Okay, right. Surveying nears completion on potentially massive new gas field in West Antisaean. Don't forget, there could be a big argument between us and Parley. Did I say that right? As to who owns this. We're going to be diplomatic about this. We're going to try to be as diplomatic as possible. Well, as I said, Zeal is... ideally, we would like Zeal and Parley brought back into Rizia. Zeal was the priority. We're not going to go over the top in trying to retake the Parley. We'll pounce on an opportunity if it presents itself, but I think this is going to be probably something that would set the tone of how our relationship is going to be with those going forward. So we'll see what happens, but this could potentially be a nice big boon if we can negotiate things effectively. Where both countries are still surveying the borders, with conclusive ownership still yet to be determined. Don't forget, we need to fund our source our situation with Rumberg, because we're providing them with energy now. Okay, what's next? Monteclar. Ooh. The royal visit to Monteclar. Oh, here we go. From anywhere in the city of Monteclar, you could not look high into the hills and see the ruins of Fortress Azaro. You could look high and see the ruins of Fortress Azaro. Expanded and fortified over the centuries, it had served as a stronghold for the city's inhabitants from the early years of the Resident Empire until its destruction in the War of Rizian Succession. Today, the ruins served as a symbol of Monteclar's resilience, and that of its governing house. Perhaps that was why Lucita had invited me here for a tour and private talk. For safety's sake, a wooden walkway had been constructed over the crumbling remains of the parapets. Rizia and I walked along it until we came to the northwestern corner. How do you like the view, Your Majesty? From here, we could look down into the valley where the provincial capital sprawled across the fast-flowing Alka River and up into the foothills of the mountains opposite. Imagine how this fortress must have looked 1,000 years ago. Incredible, isn't it? The fortress was closed off for our visit, but a crowd had gathered just outside its walls. We waved down to them, then turned away, following the walkway towards the former armoury. Our aides and guards stayed a respectable distance behind. Not even the Markians could destroy this place, you know? Only when Rizia's noble families turned against each other did it finally fall. She paused and turned to face me. It took years for the Azaro and Taurus families to repair their bond. I hope our houses will remain harmonious through your reign. Yes. I don't see why that would not be the case. You and your relatives have sworn fealty to the crown, have they not? Of course, but, well, your father and mine were close, Your Majesty. General Thaddeus told me that he felt free to express his true opinions to the king, with no fear of repercussion. Rizia bit her lip. She seemed uncharacteristically nervous. I'd like it if you and I had a similar relationship. I want to have that relationship with all of my councillors, Duchess. Nobody should feel like they have to hold back their opinions. In our heads we're thinking, within reason. Perfect, Your Majesty. Thank you. She was smiling, but I registered slight disappointment in her eyes. Yes, she wanted me to turn around and say, "Oh, of course, Duchess, you'll get exclusive rights to speak your mind without fear of repercussion or reprisal." As if. Well, yeah. I think we can gloss over it. Yeah. We'll just kind of smooth it over a bit further. Yeah, it's precisely your willingness to speak your mind that makes you such a valuable asset on my council. Yes, we'll see if we can ham it up a touch. Notice the disappointment in her little face. I am pleased to hear that. She stared out at the surrounding mountains before turning back to me. So, on the subject of speaking my mind, my house and I had questions regarding your recent meeting in Salabez. Did they? Sources say you were quite deep in conversation with the House Sazon heir. Yes. Did those sources fail to tell you I turned him away? Did we turn him away? I don't think we did we? I'm just thinking back to the premonition that we had when we were in that, the ceremony with the Grand Wiseman. There was something to do with the houses needing to be unified in the vision, I'm sure. We should really pay heed to that, shouldn't we? But we can't. They're traitorous dogs. We will never get over that, I'm afraid. If that comes to bite us in the backside in the future, so be it. Did those sources fail to tell you I turned him away? I had that impression, but I wanted to hear it from you. You know the entire house is still suspected to have ties to Arcasia. Yes, that isn't surprising. Arcasia has its eyes and ears everywhere. They and their allies have spent the better part of this century trying to undermine us. All the more reason not to trust that man around your daughter. Yes. I mean, might we require her assistance on this in the future? Not with the daughter, with the whole Manus situation. I think the more allies we can have against him, the better. You know, tap into people's skill sets and resources, you know, if we want him bumped off. Is it possible to have him bumped off? It might be. Ooh, tempting prospect. Yeah, she is head of internal and external, you know, kind of security, military. Makes sense, I suppose. I am just looking out for national security, as is my job. I appreciate that. We have come to a small grassy patch in the shade of the fortress's southern wall. Lucita gestured for me to sit down. I had one more thing I wanted to bring up while you were alone. When I took over my father's position on the Royal Council, he gave me a trove of his old files. Wedged between standard purchase orders and internal security reports, I found this. She reached into her pocket and unfolded a thin square of paper. On it was a map of Parley. Overlaying the outline of the Grand Duchy were arrows, diagrams of tanks and battalions, and hastily scribbled instructions. Some of them were in my father's handwriting. Look at the date. 1949. So they're plotting another attempt on Parley. It's not surprising. Had this been attempted, it would have been a complete rout. All glory to King Valero, but perhaps it's fortunate that he died before this could be carried out. Yes. Maybe he didn't intend to carry it out. Maybe he wanted me to do it. She frowned. Or the plan was scrapped when they realized it would never work. Yes. Oh, again, these are all interesting options here. We're not interested in reconquering. We're no conqueror is a bit also... we're not a conqueror in the sense of military conquering, but we might conquer through diplomacy. Many strings, you know, many ways to skin a cat and all that. But out of the three options... it's an outdated concept. Invading territories based on centuries-old grudges. Of course, my family would disagree. My province never got over losing our access to the sea. But I don't see any merit in taking back Parley, at least not for historic reasons. Oh, so she's not interesting. She's not interested. However, are you implying that there are other reasons? She looked away. I don't want to sound paranoid, but with Lesbia in ATO and Morella becoming closer to Valksland and the CSP, I do wonder whether our neighbour will get swallowed up in the superpower conflict. Could be a legitimate worry. Look at what happened to Valen in the 1930s. Arcasia and Huayticontana nearly destroyed it by proxy in a rush to gain access to its oil. And now Parley may be sitting on an even more valuable resource? Yeah? So you think we should reconquer? You think we should conquer Parley for its own good? Conquer? Such an old-fashioned word. Think of it as a chess game. Sometimes it's best to remove certain pieces from the board before it's too late. That doesn't mean I think we should attack Parley again. Using diplomacy to get them on our side would be a more effective Look at that. Great minds think alike, Lucita. Great minds think alike. My war counsellor is urging me to practice diplomacy. Now I've heard it all. War should be a last resort, Your Majesty. Contrary to what you or my father would say, your father or my father would say. If you wanted me to, I could send a task force to Parley to monitor the situation more closely. I wouldn't even need extra funding. Your expansion of the Golden Guard has created a few redundancies in our intelligence division. I think that's a good idea. We've got the Wayland situation under control with, you know, the draining of their resource by Rumberg. We've sent that, those people in, that organisation in, that Vina recommended to kind of cause a bit of unrest. I think we've got them under control. We've got the Golden Guard investigating in relation to the bomb attacks, trying to get to the bottom of who's behind that. We should be fine with zeal. So, let's put a bit more effort into the Parley situation as well. All we've got going on in Parley right now is that organisation that Vina recommended, stirring unrest down there too. So, sounds like a good idea. What do you need? Thank you, Your Majesty. She began standing up. Oh, do what you need. I thought we were asking her what she wanted. Right, okay. Your unfettered opinions. No, we're going to go too far. May I keep that map of Parley? Don't want it falling into the wrong hands now, do we? I don't see why not. She handed me the piece of paper. I took a last look at it before I crumpled it up, ripped it into 1,000 pieces and cast it into the flames. I will keep this as a reminder of my father's folly. And General Thaddeus Azaros. But speaking of the military, oh, here we go. It's nearly 4. Let me show you something. She gestured to the stone wall behind us. A metal ladder led to the top of a small watchtower, now the fortress's highest surviving structure. Lucita scaled it in a matter of seconds. We followed her up. From this side, we could see Camp Domus, the country's largest military training facility. It stretched far into the distance, with hundreds of barracks clustered around grounds that simulated all types of terrain. We looked down onto the main square. A platoon of some 50 soldiers, mostly men, but a few women as well, was preparing for an exercise. Listen closely. A drummer to the side of the square beat out a complex rhythm on a snare. Long, short, short, long. That's an inverted wedge. The soldiers snapped into a V-shaped formation, narrow at the back and widening towards the front. Impressive. The best trained soldiers in South Macopa. Another rhythm came from the drum, 2 rim shots, followed by a rapid roll. Extended lines spreading out into herringbone. Almost unconsciously, she started moving along with the soldiers, but as she put her left foot down, the section of wall beneath it suddenly gave way. She began falling backwards. We could just let her fall. I don't think she'd die, but she'd certainly remember it if she grabbed onto it herself and we did nothing. Jesus Christ, grab her arm. I grabbed her arm and pulled her toward me to safety. She looked up at me in surprise, breathing heavily. Let go of her? Don't let go of her? What the hell? Could we end up in, interesting? Maybe that premonition was right all along. Maybe, because we did question whether it was ourselves when it came to the forbidden relationship. Maybe it could be this, but no, we'll let go of her. We just saved the woman's life. I can just picture it, she falls, I grab her, pull her to her safety, and they were there staring into each other's eyes. That awkward moment, that awkward silence. Before we let her go, dust yourself down. Sorry about that. Let go of her. Exactly. There you go. Brush yourself off. A fleeting moment of chemistry, perhaps? Interesting. If we'd have kept hold of her for a bit longer, it would have been even more interesting. But we're not interested in that way. You know what I mean? Oh, it seems old habits die hard. Thank you, Your Majesty. She swiftly climbed down and told the guards it was time to leave. Wow, well that was a turn up for the books. Adequate foreign intelligence service. Basic security needs. Yeah, improvements are required for more nuanced insights. Right, we've got some news here. Swordland enters economic recession. Oh, here we go. Recession has descended upon Swordland. Oh dear. Making it a period of economic strife under President Ewald Alfonso's leadership, reminiscent of Tarquin Sol's post-Civil War era. Despite Alfonso's aggressive pursuit of growth via new trade deals, his strategies are beleaguered by entrenched political opposition and a global economic slowdown. With analysts split on the recession's longevity, the pressure mounts on Alfonso to navigate Swordland out of economic peril before the end of his term. An endeavour fraught with uncertainty and the spectre of history's judgment. Yeah, well, we all know how that ended, don't we? Ended not very well for him, but for Anton Rain, it ended just as badly. Because which playthrough did we import? We imported the first playthrough, which didn't end well for us either. So, oh well. Right. What have we got? We've got provincial tax subsidy, which now that we have visited all of Rizia's provinces, we have the opportunity to grant a provincial tax subsidy to one or more of them. This will reduce our government income, but have a positive effect on our relationship with the province in question. Valankiris is our home province, so do we really need to increase the relationship with our own home province, being run by our own family? Not really. Do we want to be increasing our relationship with Cardes Monteclar? Not really. Brenus? No. Certainly not. So the only thing that we would possibly pump money into would be to grant it to Valankiris, which would be obviously our own kind of home province. But it doesn't say that it's going to be used for anything other than increase relationships. So, I mean, you might want to strengthen the ties to our own family just to make sure. But I don't think we need to grant any subsidies here. I mean, look, we're not exactly rolling in cash right now, so we're not going to grant any subsidies there. Could be a mistake, I don't know, but hey. And look at that, we hit the continue screen. Gasfield survey reaches completion. Well, we know what's going to be the theme of the next chapter then. Us trying to determine what on earth we're going to do about the ownership of this gas field. Of course it does. Half the field lies within a 200-kilometre radius of the island, giving Rizia a claim. And a meeting is arranged to discuss these findings and our country's next steps. Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. Right, so I'm going to end the stream here, simply because I'm horse racing in and out. So we'll get this up. Well, I'll get this up rather for you guys to watch this afternoon. But yeah, between now and the next session, which will more than likely be a stream on Monday, I'll do the usual. Seeing as we end of the turn, we head to Royal Decrees and see which Royal Decrees we're going to enact before the start of the next session. And once we have done that, we shall crack on to see what happens. This is quite worrying, because we could go down to -1 without doing anything else with any of the decrees. Now, one of the decrees we can purchase, bit of energy. It's going to cost us 2 budget, so we're going to have to probably sell some more military stuff, buy some energy, unless the game doesn't, unless nothing happens. I'm going to have to research what happens if you go into the negatives here before I make this decision. If all that happens is it just stays at 0 and nothing else is lost, then I'm not that interested in buying energy. But if you guys know what happens, please do leave a comment. Can you go into negatives, or does it just stop, not register? Only simply because it says that the minimum is 0. So it can't go into the negatives. So perhaps we just let it sit at 0 and don't worry about it. I don't know. But if you do know for sure, let me know. Otherwise, we'll have to sort of wrangle and manoeuvre our way to give ourselves a bit of energy there with a bit of energy purchasing. But if not, it gives us 4 budget to play around with this time. We've got the gold mines to get started. Certainly, there's a couple of other decrees at top of our list to get enacted. So I'll look at those off camera, and before the next session, I'll get them done, and I'll just go through what I've done on the start of the stream on Monday. But there you go. Enjoy your weekends, folks. Tomorrow is Sunday, which means it'll be time for another stream, of course, after football, and that stream will be some Baldur's Gate 3. So hopefully you can join me for that. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your weekend, whatever it is you're doing, and until next time, I will see you soon.